Hey there, it's Anne Marie. Welcome back to the channel. I am a certified senior advisor here in the DFW Metroplex, and I look forward to talking with you about all things senior related. October is Lewy Body Dementia Awareness Month, and so I thought we would chat today about the signs and symptoms of that because they're very specific and there are treatments that can make some of those symptoms better. There is no cure. I just want to be right up front with that. But Lewy body dementia is second only in Alzheimer's in terms of how many people have it. And so let's dive into it and see what we can figure out that can help you. One of the first signs you might be aware of is all of a sudden they lose a bit of executive function. And that means things like organizing, in their mind things, thinking things through, things that used to be easy for them to do, planning, stuff like that. Those are things that can stick out as, with other things in a way to think maybe Lewy body dementia. And again, you have to keep all these things into consideration with the person themselves. If they were always scatterbrained, if they could never follow through with something, then that's probably not a clue for you, right? You're looking for things that are different and new. One of the big tip-offs for Lewy body is hallucinations, like visual hallucinations. They're seeing a dog or cat that isn't there. And another way that they hallucinate is, let's say they look at a pattern on the carpet and it's just some random paisley pattern, but they see a dog's face, or they might see something on the ground that isn't there and reach over to pick it up. That's something that happens to them. The visual stuff really gets kind of dicey. Also, there's a lot of symptoms that are similar to Parkinson's. We now know that Parkinson's usually goes hand in hand with some form of dementia, and so this kind of makes sense if you think about it. But these are an early sign of someone that might have Lewy body as well. And so you're looking for things like they're hunched over all of a sudden where they weren't before, or they're shuffling their feet when they walk. That's something that is a tip-off that Lewy body might be going on. A big thing I always think about with Lewy body dementia is the behavioral aspect. A lot of times they'll get really agitated and just super cranky, and other times they'll be completely apathetic, like they don't care about you or their stuff or anything. They're just kind of meh, don't care. They don't care if you hurt your feelings so much anymore. Everything is just behaviorally a little different. And that's something that is always a tip off to me of Lewy body. Another tip off to Lewy body is they might flip their sleep schedule. They might all of a sudden be up at night all night and then asleep all day. Or they might have trouble getting to sleep. They might wake up all the time. Sleep-related things a lot of times point to Lewy body, and that's okay. If you're looking at someone who's always been a night owl and they've always slept late, clearly that is not a clue for you. You're looking again for those different things. Another thing they do that it kind of is a standout in terms of sleep is they can act out their dreams physically like this while they're sleeping. That is an interesting one. So if all of a sudden you have someone who's doing that and maybe they're shaking during the day, kind of like they might have Parkinson's, the tremors, anything that is adding up, several of these things, that would lead me to think I need to go see a doctor to see what's going on. Lewy bodies is also really interesting in that they have fluctuations in their cognition and their alertness. When you think of Alzheimer's, you immediately think of memory loss. And Lewy bodies has memory loss, don't get me wrong, but whenever you're thinking about it right at the onset, Lewy body is not usually going to be the first thing is memory loss, but it might be something like they have trouble paying attention, or they struggle to think things through. They might be really alert one day and then the next day they're completely confused and you're going, what is going on? It's like these flickers back and forth of they're better this day, they're a lot worse this day, and it goes back and forth, especially at the beginning. Another thing that I've seen happen whenever it's a new onset kind of situation is They'll all of a sudden be really cold and they can't, or really hot and they can't control their body temperature, or all of a sudden their blood pressure's all over the place and it can't be controlled. And the other one that's really a standout is they can lose bowel and bladder function earlier on than they would, if you were in Alzheimer's. That's generally something further down the road, and not everyone with dementia ever loses those things. But in Lewy body, if you have someone that is all of a sudden losing this ability and they still have other things going on that is going okay, that's a tip off for me. This is a case, I know I've said before, not everyone needs to go get a dementia diagnosis, and that is true. But in this case, if you have any symptoms, if you're thinking someone's got Lewy body, there's so much that can be done. They're not going to be able to fix it, but they're going to be able to help it be managed a lot longer. And so, yes, it is a progressive disease. Yes, eventually it's going to decline in a big way. But if you get it early enough, then you can kind of work on those symptoms and make it manageable for a lot longer. So if you have any of these symptoms, if you know someone who does, kind of start taking notes, especially at the beginning. When my husband had dementia, the first thing we noticed later when we were looking back at it is that he lost his keys one day, which is highly unusual for him, and they were in the dishwasher and he had no idea how they got there. When we looked at that at a time, we were like, that was funny, because it had never happened before. So that's why I say you might want to just jot down these things for a while before you hit the panic button, unless it's something big. All of a sudden they're hallucinating and screaming and shredding drapes and stuff, that's a big thing. But if you're just kind of thinking maybe, just start jotting down notes. And then when you do consult a physician down the road, whenever that is, you have things that you have charted, if you will, and so it's easier for them to help pick out and give a good diagnosis. There's imaging, there's all kind of stuff, but that's how you can help the best right at the get-go. So if you have any questions, if you need to talk about anything senior related, I hope you'll call on me. And please like and subscribe to the channel, because not everyone needs to hear about Lewy body, but someone does. So you might need to share that with them, or just on your general social media, so whoever does need to hear it can. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon.